So we are recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another edition of the Tom Green Podcast. As you can see, I have my Keep Showing Up shirt on. Shout out to Jenny Fisher for that. It's Suicide Prevention Week. The mental help we all needed throughout the past year and a half has been something that we've all really needed, especially in a time when we all had to be separated. We felt a lot closer together. So somebody that gave me some of that mental help to get me through my last job at the radio station, to get me to the Tribune now, is our guest today. And she is at Q13 Fox now. And the last time we had her, she was at KREM. She is Alyssa KXLY, excuse me. Brenna's at KREM. KXLY, I corrected myself there. She is Alyssa Charlston. Her and Brenna were quite close, so Forgive me for that. Welcome to the show, Alyssa.
Thank you so much, Tom. I will not be mad about being confused with Brenna. She's fantastic. She's a hard worker, one of my friends, one of my buds. So happy to be here. And you're right. You've also connected a lot of people through this pandemic by being someone who's okay with asking for help. And I think we all need to take note of that, an example of that. And in this industry, especially, it's really cool to stay connected that way. And you know, it's very humbling. So I'm pumped to be here and pumped that we've stayed, buds for this long and ready to talk football.
Exactly. I was hoping that the pandemic would subside a little more so that you'd be able to travel to Ann Arbor from Michigan, Washington, but rules are rules. And in fact, I'd heard over Fox News Radio that your station actually reported for them about the new mandates for, I believe, King County, Washington. Masking up even outdoors, which is quite a change.
It is. It's for every single stadium. So Lumen Field, Husky Stadium, Washington State, Martin Stadium in Pullman, and Mariners, T-Mobile Park. Masks and vaccination proof is required, or proof of a negative test within 72 hours. So things are definitely changing over here.
Yeah. In a way, I'm still old school because I still refer to that field as Quest Field and Safeco Field.
Any internet or cable company you throw out there, there's a good chance, it's been CenturyLink, it's been Quest, now it's Lumen. So all about the connectivity.
And even in Chicago, when I was at Guaranteed Rate Field, I still refer to that field as US Cellular Field. So names from growing up still just still connect with me. So
hard.
Tell us a little more about what you're doing over there at Q13 Fox.
I get to do a lot more show hosting, which I didn't get to do as much of at KXLY, but everything that I learned, I needed to learn at KXLY. It was such a good market. Spokane, I got to cover Mike Leach. I got to cover Gonzaga basketball and just interacting with those coaches, but also covering Seattle Mariners and Seattle Seahawks from afar. So at Q now we have like a weekly half-hour Talkin Huskies show. We've had a live 1-hour Sounders special. So it's been a ton of fun. I've been, really blessed with this opportunity because it's stretched me in so many different ways. Hosted a half-hour Seahawks training camp show with a former Seahawks linebacker, Dave Wyman. So getting to know different personalities and trying to get those personalities to shine as a host is really, really fun. And I've absolutely loved it, in addition to anchoring. So that's kind of what you get into in a lot of local TV markets is you're anchoring quite a bit, you're reporting quite a bit, creating stories. But at Q13, it honestly feels like a regional network, sports regional network, which a lot of those, as have completely disappeared because of the pandemic. So I'm absolutely loving it. And my boss, Aaron Levine, is a genius, mastermind, funny. He's the best person to learn from.
Certainly. And the thing that's been going through my head, and probably why you've seen me smile a little bit bigger, is your post when you had the stress fracture in your
yeah.
So I got a stress fracture. Then you should relax a little more. Dad?
Mike Leach. Yep, he is an absolute character. That's funny that you remember that, because I was like, that's something my dad would say. Total dad joke, Mike Leach. But that man has a world of jokes. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I miss him and his comedy.
Yes, Mississippi gained a great one, and Michael H. That's for sure. In fact,
Yes.
even my bosses slash editors, Eric Young and Scott Nunn, I've been telling a couple of dad jokes to them too. Like yesterday, I had to do a quick write up for the football pick'ems for week 3 in Michigan high school football here in the Thumb, and I had told him, well, REO Speedwagon would be happy because you put me under the gun, so I took it on the run, and Eric said, are you a dad? Because your dad jokes are on point. And I said, well, I just keep on rolling with them.
Wow. You're not even a dad yet, but you already have the dad jokes down. You're ready.
Exactly.
You're
Watch
ready.
out in 15 to 20 years.
Yeah. Have you been enjoying your job?
Yes, the one weekend, it is night and day better than my old job. I'm not going to rant too much about my old job on a live slash recorded podcast, but I will say the attitude's there and the stuff that I'm doing now versus what I was doing before. Granted, I needed the radio station to get through the pandemic because I probably would have been unemployed had I not. But to get through and to have a better job in the field that I wanted to get into for many years, sports, has been just night and day better. And I have felt so much better. Or just 1 week of this
Good.
job versus 18 months of the old job.
That's so nice. And it wouldn't even be a shame if you were unemployed, because so many great, talented people have been unemployed in this, 2-year span. So it happens, but clearly you landed in the right spot and you've worked your tail off. So karma.
Yes, and I will say it was a message that you had shared with me last year when you had said you are so strong. You didn't have to go through this, et cetera, et cetera. I just about shed a tear. I'm like, oh my God. I need
Good. I'm glad you believe that.
And
I've just our one podcast together. I was like, you're too good at this. You're too smooth. You're gonna find something. You're insightful. You're motivated.
Yes.
And people who need to hear that message believe the same. The good ones, the ones who work hard, will get the right thing.
Exactly. So last question I got before we get to the preview is any advice you have for future reporters or writers of that nature that kind of made the jump that you did from, KXLY to freelance? You covered the Pac-12 women's basketball tournament to now Q13 Fox. What advice do you have throughout all of that for those that are going through?
Probably write a book at this point, just on the ideas and thoughts that I've had. Not like it's like I'm, philosopher, but what really helped me was reaching out to people that I didn't really know and asking people for contacts here and there and not being afraid, because you've already learned this. You won't make it in this industry if you're not comfortable reaching out to people you don't know, because you have to reach out to athletes or to coaches or to athletic directors and other reporters to get information. So you have to be gutsy. You have to be confident in that you believe in what you can do. And I don't think at the same time you should expect that you're going to be perfect right off the bat. I've always pictured myself as I got to be a courtside analyst for the Pac-12 women's basketball tournament. And that was the most fun role I could have ever imagined. But I didn't necessarily see it 4 years ago, being
Right.
smooth and being able to say what I want to say and something insightful or funny on the spot, being live. So I would say, don't put too much pressure on yourself with being perfect and becoming what you want to become right away, because nobody is just an absolute natural. People can be comfortable on air. Some people are better at not stumbling over their words than others. But in terms of having a natural ability to be insightful and smooth right away, don't expect that. We all go through struggles. We all have said weird things on air. I've blacked out mentally when I'm live and I'm like, where am I going with that? We're back to it, So there's growing pains and things you have to learn. But I would say just be aggressive, be willing to reach out to people and make those connections. And also, just don't expect that everything's going to come all at once, because honestly, the journey, and I'm sure you'd agree that with this too, the journey to get where you're at now is kind of the best part about it. If you don't enjoy getting to where you're at, you're not going to enjoy professional work, jobs in general. You got to enjoy what gets you there.
I'm sure you've seen the photo too. Our view of the journey, our plan, God's plan.
Yes. Straight up and
something,
down. Amen.
exactly. Something I would add to your advice there is back in 2012, I'm sure you remember when Alabama destroyed Notre Dame in the national title game, 42-10, I think it was. AJ McCarron in his center in the fourth quarter, when the score was that lopsided, had argued over a play and actually caused a delay of game penalty or a false start or something of that nature. Nick Saban was asked about it, and he had said, and I quote, "Execute the right plays and the wins will come." I say this in a way about relationships and about life. Be yourself and the right things will come to you.
Mm,
Professionally, of course,
right.
but be yourself, because you have a personality. I have a personality. Don Mitchell had said it best from Fox 9 in Minneapolis. People can smell fake a mile away.
Yes. That's a great quote.
And so you
So
got to
true.
be yourself, but professional, but be yourself. And it will get you a long, long way into the field that you want to get into.
I second, third, fourth, and fifth that. That's so good.
Love it. So with that, we move to the Michigan and Washington preview. And the first thing we gotta start out with is, yes, I get to host a 30-minute show about the Washington Huskies. We lost to Montana. Explain. I mean, my goodness.
I wish I could.
I mean, was Tanner, I forget his last name, but the guy that looked like a lumberjack, that's Eastern Washington. I'm sorry. But you get my drift. Was he there too?
He might have been, because Eastern, FCS, this is a good week for FCS. I mean, Eastern beating UNLV, or last week was, I guess the week before Eastern beat UNLV, and then Montana comes out and beats a ranked team. I don't have any words for it, first of all, but I do, I did Huskytron from home, which was kind of like a live broadcast secondary screen to the Husky football games. So we would include the radio broadcast, fans could tune in, we'd show videos, we'd do some analysis. And this offense, Jimmy Lake and Chris Peterson before him, they go traditional. So they go a lot of run and nothing too exciting, especially in the world of college football where everybody seems to be going like for vertical, like just loving to pass it downfield, deep, flashy plays. Washington
Oregon went 5 years ahead of the trend.
Yeah, yep. Chip Kelly and look at what he's doing with freaking UCLA. Oh my gosh. So beating UCLA or LSU, but with Washington, their offense was just dead. And I will tell you this. This week will be different because, well, assuming they had 3 of their top wide receivers out. So 1, 2, 3 wide receivers, none of them played. And it was apparently because of injury. Jalen McMillan, Terrell Bynum, and Roma Dunze, none of them played. And that really affected Dylan Morris's confidence because 3 turnovers. One was kind of a, not the Hail Mary, but desperation at the end of the game. So really 2. And he didn't have the guys he's been used to going to. And Jalen Polk, the transfer from Texas Tech, was out after his first catch. And he's out for the rest of the season because of a chest injury. So their top 4 wide receivers out. Not trying to make excuses, but, when you have top receivers out against any team. And I think Montana came to play. Montana is big. They were the same size as the Huskies in the trenches. And that's what I was shocked about because the Huskies are huge on the O-line. I think this Michigan game is going to be a real test for that offensive line because that was what was most highly touted coming into that game because they had all their guys returning. I wouldn't say it's quite time to panic because another stat is there's only 5 teams that have been ranked in the FBS that have lost to FCS teams in college football history. All 5 of them have gone on to bowl games. Whatever bowl game it might be the Hawaii Bowl, but it's still a bowl game. So they kind of transform, they were able to get successful seasons. So I think lots of film to watch and lots of mistakes to learn from that game against Montana.
As the Michigan fan that I am going to this game at night, I'm thinking, are you crazy? But I get it because Michigan at night is a whole different animal. And we've seen that the past few years. We'll move on to that in just a minute. But yeah, it surprised me quite a bit that Washington, 20th ranked in all of college football, loses to FCS Montana. But like you had said, Montana's size was quite the same. And it was actually more of an equal fight than a lot of people may have thought. So how do the Huskies get back on track? I mean, it's going to be hard going to Michigan under the lights.
Yeah, honestly, initially I was like, wow, what a way to turn this around. Like how do you pick up the pieces to play in the biggest stadium in the United States against a program that's on their way back up, hopefully. I mean, both of these teams kind of need to get back to where they were at a national prominence, because Michigan has not been that for the last several years. And I think their talent is definitely there. I think they are similar to Washington and they really want to run the ball. They're both very physical, and Washington has the right attitude. Just listening to their press conferences, I think it's a lot of accountability. You know, Jimmy Lake is saying it's my fault for not preparing him correctly, because I think there's clearly a good amount of the team that maybe overlooked Montana or just wasn't focused enough or didn't have the right energy. And Jimmy Lake, their head coach, is, you know, taking a lot of accountability. The players are like, that wasn't good enough. We're embarrassed. And that's not us. So, and Ryan Bowman was like, we know he's a D line guy. We know that Michigan wants to run the ball down our throats, and we are looking forward to them trying. Good. Like, he was excited about that. You know, he knows it's going to be heavy competition. And I think, you know, you play against a great team, they're going to make you play at their level, you know. So Montana, sometimes you can play down to other teams' levels. Not like Montana's a bad team, but I think UW will walk into that place, everybody's against us, you know, and have that kind of dog mentality and hopefully show up, because that they need to, the offense is what really needs to pick up. The offensive line has to protect better and create more holes for the run game, because that was easily the biggest disappointment.
What is going in your favor for this game is that the last time a night game was played at the Big House, granted there were no fans and it was 2020, but Graham Mertz in Wisconsin destroyed the Michigan Wolverines, and I called it comedy that night. I had a few drinks in me, and Graham Mertz made me put a few more in me, let's say. that night.
Throw them back.
That game with fans, though, was Michigan destroying a ranked Notre Dame team. So you have both sides of the totem pole there coming into Michigan. So I will say, you guys had lost a couple of wide receivers. Ronnie Bell, for us, despite only having one amazing catch, is now gone for the rest of the season. It has not been confirmed by the Michigan department, but I was told by one of my buddies, Danny Okarafa, one of my drinking buddies down in Toledo, that it's an ACL. Because you could see how he was going off the field, and he helped off the field. He was telling me it's an ACL, and I'm like, yeah, it had the look of Achilles or ACL. So it hasn't been confirmed, but it's ACL, and he's done for the year. So now Michigan has to turn to Dalen Baldwin, Cornelius Johnson, Mike Sanzatrill, and of course, running the ball down people's throats. Blake Corum, Hassan Haskins, and of course, McNamara played well at quarterback. And let's not forget about the throw that J.J. McCarthy had across the field against Western.
That was insane.
Granted, Western, yeah.
Right, throwing left.
Granted, Western is not what they were under P.J. Fleck, but Tim Lester has kept the Western Michigan Broncos back to where they were before Fleck, perhaps even a little bit better than before Fleck. But still, as Michigan, you guys have a challenge, I will say. Anything you have to add about the Michigan Wolverines? I know Washington is the main thing there, but anything you've seen from Michigan?
Well, I know, you know, I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people say football is won in the trenches. Brand new quote that's never been said before. I really am excited to see that because of Aiden Hutchinson on your side going against UW's offensive line, because that is really that's going to determine how UW plays this year against a great D line. And neither team really got the kind of pass rush that they wanted against Montana or against Western Michigan. So I think that's also where I'm going to be looking. But I think this team is excited to play in front of at least 100,000 fans. It's going to be sweet.
Yes, and I will be one of said 108,000.
Oh, you'll be there.
As I got my ticket today, second row. It was a little bit of money, but I decided, you know what, second row at night. Let's do it.
Let's go. Oh, that's going to be so fun. What an environment.
Let's do it. I'm excited. The Barstool Sports crew is going to be there. Casey Smith, Kelly in Vegas, Dave Portnoy, all of them. Going to see the pregame show before heading into the stadium. I'm hype.
Nice. Oh, your Saturday is going to be great.
Oh, of course it is. So, keys to the game. How do the Washington Huskies go in and defeat the Michigan Wolverines?
Run the ball well, better through the offensive line. Dylan Morris, protect him better, which is again to the offensive line. And get your 3 wide receivers back on the field.
Fair enough. Keys for Washington to beat the Michigan Wolverines. Well, sarcastically, try to make the fans think that the game is on Sunday and not Saturday.
There you go.
Well, in truth, yes, you got to have your 3 wide receivers back. A thing that I have stressed many times on the podcast, time and time again. Turnovers, great at RBs, not on the field. Win the turnover game, and you're going to have a great chance to beat Michigan at night, which almost seems like a very daunting task, especially for any road team, except for Wisconsin last year. Those are 2 big ones. And then, yeah, clean up the turnover game, run the ball. That's what you got to do. How does Michigan beat Washington?
You'd know better than I would. Continue to run the ball like they did through Corum. McNamara was elite. I mean, 9 of 11, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's what you want out of a quarterback that doesn't play the full game. I'd say there's going to be a lot of pressure on Washington to try and give pressure on him. But if they can control the run game, dominate UW's D line, that's going to be huge. And yeah, I'd say those are the 2 keys for me.
Certainly keys to Michigan beating Washington. Don't lose any wide receivers because we've already lost Ronnie Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. It's worked well against Western now. Washington definitely has a much better defensive front than Western, so it could be a little more challenging than it is against Western Michigan. But pound the rock, make the defensive line tired, get the victory that way, and then of course, like I said, win the turnover game. Whoever wins the turnover game, I'd say 9 times out of 10 is going to win the game. So
yeah, and I would say,
who's going to come?
I guess I would add to that, definitely pressure Dylan Morris if you can, because they've shown that you can turn him over if you pressure him, and Michigan will make you pay for 3 turnovers much more than Montana will.
Exactly. So who comes away from the big house with a victory?
I'm going to go Michigan. I think Washington's still going to figure it out. I don't think they're going to put up enough points. I don't have a point total. I'm not doing that, but Michigan at home. I think it'll be a closer game, and we're going to learn a lot more about Washington, but I still would pick Michigan right now.
Michigan is a 6.5 point favorite. There are some people at Barstool that are going against that. I'm going to take Michigan in the points, and I think it's going to be a sort of a blowout. I went 31-10 at first, and it's only because it's night game at the big house. If this were played at noon or at 3:30, I think Washington would have a better shot. If this were played in Seattle, I think Washington would have a better shot. I just think Washington just ran into a bad kink in the schedule, and they may have to pay for it dearly. 31-10, Michigan defeats Washington. Has you and the Washington crew thinking, "Oh my God." So on to the pick'ems. We only have a few minutes left because I know you are very, very busy. So why don't we get right to it? 2 college games. First one is big noon Saturday. We got Oregon and Ohio State, another Pac-12 club. Well, lost Thibodeau, but do they come out of the horseshoe with a victory?
No, I think it's Ohio State, but we don't know. I mean, Thibodeau it's a sprained ankle, right? So he's day to day. I don't see him playing. I wouldn't pick Oregon over Ohio State if he was playing, even though the Pac-12 needs it.
I want to pick Oregon so badly because I'm a Michigan fan. Why would I pick Ohio State? But I have to go Ohio State. I like that pick. The Cy-Hawk Bowl, Iowa against Iowa State in Ames.
Iowa, for sure. I think Iowa State football program, I'm not sure about this year. We'll find out.
Interesting. I had Matt Woolsey on the show last night talking Lions Niners, and he picked Iowa as well. I think Iowa State really should have won the Big 12 last year. I know Oklahoma is Oklahoma, but I think Iowa State got shafted in the Big 12 title game, and they are out for revenge. Now, this one won't necessarily matter towards that, but it's going to matter towards the playoff. Give me Iowa State and the points. In the NFL, we got big one tonight. Dallas and Tampa. America's team faces Tampa.
Tampa Bay showing up. I think it'll be close, but I give me Tampa. That defense is too good.
I believe the spread is now up to 8.5. So it's getting a little iffy as far as spread goes, but you can tell where my allegiance lies with that game. Tampa, give me Tom Brady. What the hell? Give me the points too. Your game, Seattle against the Colts. Your Seahawks go to the East Coast and play at 10 a.m. your time. Is it going to affect them?
The Seahawks are very good at 10 a.m. games in the last 2 years, like only lost 2 or 3 games at 10 a.m. I absolutely pick Seahawks. The Indianapolis Colts have no film on Russell Wilson, no idea what he looks like with DK and Tyler this year under a new offensive coordinator. Yes, I'm sure that's part of the plan. Carson Wentz coming off an ankle injury. I don't see, it might be close early on, but I still think the Seahawks will run away with it.
I originally picked Indianapolis, and I'm going to stick with that pick only because it's week 1 at a 10 a.m. game. If this were like week 7 or something like that, I perhaps would change your pick off, well, change my pick off your thought there about Seattle basically not losing at 10 a.m. I still have my doubts about that, but anything is possible. It's very likely I get that pick wrong. Another team that goes to the East Coast and plays at 10 a.m. West Coast time, Chargers and Washington.
I want Chargers, but I don't think Austin Eckler is playing. So that's going to be a game changer. I really like Justin Herbert, though. That O-line is great. And I think Washington, Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, I think he'll find his stride later in the season, not game 1.
So you pick the Chargers, okay? This one I got to go contrarian on as well because, again, West Coast team playing at 10 a.m. Herbert's good, but the team hasn't been. New coach, new regime. I'm a little skeptical. We have hit, however, the wheel of Fitzmagic where he is a starter then stinks. We've hit that part of the wheel of Fitzmagic, so keep that in mind. But I am picking Washington, and I am picking the Washington football team to win the NFC East once again. It's Dallas's division to lose, and they will lose it.
The
Jacksonville
NFC
and Houston,
you mean, right?
Yeah.
Jacksonville
and Houston. The crap game, but it did come within the 2.5 spread.
I'll go Jacksonville just for fun. I'd like to see Urban Meyer get that dub to start. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not an Ohio State fan, but it's always fun, I feel like, when Jacksonville's at least competitive.
Yeah, I got to go Jacksonville as well. Houston, when USA Today came out with the top 32 power rankings, they had the Lions ranked 32. I'm like, there are at least 4 teams that are worse than Detroit in the power rankings. These 2 are 2 of the 4. The Jets and Cincinnati are the other 2. Give me Jacksonville. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Sunday Night Football, Chicago and the Rams.
Where is it again?
In LA. First game, SoFi
Rams
Stadium with fans. I agree with that pick wholeheartedly. I like the Bears defense, but the Rams with fans, not even close. Give me the
Matt
spread.
Stafford. I'm excited, but scared to see what Stafford looks like under Sean McVay.
Give me the Rams there and the points. Last one, Monday Night Football, Baltimore and the Raiders.
Baltimore.
You like the Ravens? Because it's at night. It is at Allegiant Stadium, also known to me as the Death Star because it looks exactly like that in Star Wars. Give me the Raiders. First game with fans at Allegiant Stadium for the Raiders. I will take that. I will take the upset.
Oh, okay. First regular season game. I was thinking preseason. Seahawks played there, and it was pretty packed.
Yeah, because Mark Davis made a great statement over the 2020 season, and Clark County allowed fans to be at that stadium. And Mark Davis said, you know what? If I can't pack this stadium, nobody's coming here. So,
And he didn't even go, right? I heard he didn't even attend.
I believe that's true. He did not even go either. So
Good point.
that is your pick'ems. And as we have just about run out of time here, and you've got some Seahawks previews to get filming on and whatnot, anything else you have to add to this wonderful Tom Green podcast?
I mean, it's always fun. And I think to anyone listening, it's important to help each other out, listen to each other. It is so overrated to be mean. It's so easy to be mean. I think thinking of others before yourself as often as you can is going to make you happier in the long run. I'm spreading positivity, and you're so good at that as well. So I think it's uncool to be mean. So let's for the most part get along when we need to and support each other in all the ways that we can, because that's how we go up from here. We're already going through enough hard stuff with COVID. So help each other out.
And exactly. And I will say before we wrap that, having you on the show, I have proved to Matt Walsh, and I'm sure you've seen this article before, women belong in sports.
Amen. We're making it normal. Shouldn't even be a big statement.
Because I saw the picture, I'm like, oh boy. So she is Alyssa Charlston. Thank you so much for being on the show and for all the great things you've supported for myself as well as others throughout this year and a half. And this has been the Tom Green Podcast.